Congratulations. You just bought a new building in Fall River, Mass. Yeah. All right. So now the fun begins. What are you going to do? Right? How do you transition this building as quickly and seamlessly as possible into your portfolio, into your systems without having a civil war or all out anarchy on your hands because there's tons of commotion, right? Well, that's where we come in. As your property managers, we're also brokers too. So hopefully we've helped you find a building and we've done all the due diligence up front. We've laid out the groundwork so that when you take possession of the property, it's an easy transition. Okay. So that is a service we offer. All right. But say, if you're watching this video, you probably did not use our service and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? So it's real simple. Okay. So the steps for success are as follows. Okay. So number one, before you buy the building, you need to do the right due diligence. Okay. And there's a lot of blogs on our site about this, how to determine ROI, how to figure out what you're really buying. We've been doing this for a long time. I've been in this business since 2011, so that's 14 years now. And, multifamilies is my specialty. So I have all these tools that we've created. So if you go on our website, you can check out our investor toolkit. Okay. We're adding tools every day. The first tool we have on here is our buy and hold analyzer. So that's something you should have used before you bought the building, right? So you're going to conduct your due diligence. You're going to make sure what the rents are, the expenses, make sure that it meets your expectation as to, what you're purchasing it for. And if the rents are low, where you need to get those rents at, right? And part of that process when we're looking at properties with you is we're going to evaluate the existing tenants and we're going to say, hey, man, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to work. We may have an eviction in unit 1, unit 3 and 4, they seem all right. Like they might be able to pay the higher rent. I don't know. So, we're going to work on that with you and figure out, the best course of action, tenant to tenant. Okay. So due diligence is key, the building's condition, all of that stuff. Okay. Step 2 is the existing tenant agreements. Okay. So part of that process when you're buying a building is you want to review the leases. Okay, are they leases? Are they tenancy at will agreements? Do they get to put washers and dryers in the apartment? Who gets to have dogs? Is there parking? What kind of security deposit did they pay? That's a big one too. We've run into situations where, the previous owner didn't do the security deposit the right way. They didn't put in a bank account. They didn't pay the yearly interest, follow all the steps in Massachusetts, which has triple liability. If you mess up a security deposit, new guy buys the building, all of a sudden, he owes the tenant. We had to make a settlement so he wouldn't have to get jammed up on 3 times the deposit. So these are things that can be avoided with some good due diligence up front. Okay. So reading those existing tenant agreements, understanding who's living there, what the scenario is, gives you some clarity. So when you close on the building, we can begin the tenant transition process. Okay. So step 3 is planning it out and executing it. Right. So how do we do that? Well, we onboard everybody. So as soon as you close and you take over, right, we become your property manager. We're going to start onboarding everyone into our system. So right away, our team reaches out, calls every tenant, texts every tenant, lets them know, hey, this is how you can reach us if there's an emergency. We're going to put you in our system. This is how we pay rent. This is how we request maintenance. This is the expectation that you should have. And everybody gets dialed in. We confirm all the contact information. And part of what we're doing there is we're being investigators, right? We're making sure that the people who we think live there really live there. We're making sure that all the estoppels and the leases are correct. And we're building the foundation for our rental agreements, right? We're going to have them sign our rental agreement, okay? So what does that look like? Well, our rental agreement is pretty thorough. It's 17 pages and counting. I've had several lawyers work on it with us. There's all kinds of good stuff in here that protects the tenant, but also most importantly, protects the landlord, right? And it defaults to no pets, no parking, different things like that. The tenant is required to have insurance. We offer a resident benefit package that gives the tenant insurance, that helps them build their credit, that gives them rewards for paying rent on time every month, offers them identity theft protection. We have a home buying assistance program, so if they paid rent on time, we want our tenants working towards something. We find that those are the best tenants. Outlines the security deposit, charges for damages that are responsibility of the tenant. So I have to keep your deposit at the end it's laid out here what the cost is per item. So there's no discussion about it. It's in black and white. Water damage to adjoining units, and this lease has been this rental agreement has been battle tested. I call it a lease, but it's really not. It's a tenancy at will agreement. Okay, so we're setting that up. So when we take over, we onboard them into our system, and then we create our new rental agreements to protect everyone. So we're all dialed in. And at that point, if there was a rent increase, that's where we would have that conversation. We would say, hey, look, we're the new owners. We're taking over. I understand your rent's $1,000. We're going to be, you're a tenant at will, so we can give you the proper notice. Okay, your rent, today's June 13th. We're going to raise your rent August 1st to $1,400 or whatever that number is. If the tenant agrees to that, we'll just prepare our rental agreement. And in that rental agreement, it'll be built in, hey, July, the rent's this, August, the rent's $1,400, right? And it's already structured there. They sign that, we're good to go. If the tenant is giving us some pushback, and they don't want to sign a rental agreement or agree to the increase, then we have a process for that as well. But we try to avoid serving people notices and going to court if we don't need to, right? Because we want to, the next step really is building relationships with the tenants. So people will tell you that they don't like to be told what to do, but in reality, most people like certainty. So if you come in and you have clear, concise directives, hey, this is how we do things, this is the process, it puts people at ease. They understand. They may not like it. They may not like that the rent increased, but if the process is smooth and simple and they don't feel threatened about where they live and there's some certainty there and they know that they have some stability in their life, it goes a long way to building relationships with tenants and making the new building a successful part of your portfolio, okay? The next thing we do as well, if we get a security deposit from that tenant at the closing, we use Z Deposit online through Leader Bank. It's a great platform. We use it for all our clients. It just handles the entire security deposit process online. Very simple. They do all the legwork. They make sure you're compliant. Very simple. When they move out, if there's an issue, it's very easy to retain the deposit. Okay. And finally, we want to optimize you for long-term success. And that's all the steps that we've laid out here today. Okay. There's a little bit of an onboarding curve. It takes about a month to two to kind of get the building all dialed in. We got to figure out, there's one in every building, right? That like, you don't know what the relationship was with the prior landlord, so we got to come in and kind of just set the ground rules for who we are. And typically most people, they just want to work with you and they want to stay where they are if they like where they live. So it generally works out successful for everyone, but you definitely got to have these steps to ensure a smooth tenant transition. Okay. So if you just bought a building, if you feel like you're in over your head, if you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do here, this is getting out of control, these people don't want to pay me. Hey, I get it. You're watching this on YouTube. The contact information is in the description. If you're on our website, just click right here at the bottom corner, right over here, and just fill out the form. I need help managing my property, whatever is appropriate for you. Let us know when the best time is to call you, and we'll reach out right away and we'll get you on the path to success. Okay. You made this investment. It needs to work for you. And that's our goal, is to make you a successful real estate investor. All right. Thank you very much, guys. Talk to you soon.